Can you hear the music? And welcome back to the Midday Show. I am Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. We have some interesting ones today. There's breaking news about the COVID-19 booster shots that we can expect in September. Also, Penn Live has a really bizarre case heading to the state Supreme Court about a man's first day on the job. We're going to talk about that as well. A little bit of Little League news about a Lycoming court ruling. We're also going to talk about going back to school. We might talk about getting older because you have a doctor's appointment. But before we get to any of that, the most important story, well, today it's the second most important story, and everyone will find out soon. But the second most important story of today, Mark, how are you feeling?
Mark is not good today.
Okay.
Number one, I have a doctor's appointment.
Okay.
Which is just, when you're a kid, you go in and they're like, here's your blood pressure. They listen, deep breath, and then they thump on your back, which I don't know what they're listening to make sure you're hot. I don't know what they're doing with that. But, as you get older, they start, penetrating things, and it's awkward. You laugh because you haven't been there yet. But that is coming up this afternoon. And then they have I don't know if it's because I have a female doctor. I don't know what it is. And I love my doctor. Sure. But they have to bring a witness in the room. Okay. While they're violating you, just to make sure that you're not really violated, you're only medically violated, and that's, you always want an audience because why not? So, but I have found out as I was whining yesterday, because this I've dreaded this all week because this is not a good time, and I was dreading this in front of a female friend, and she's like, "Really? You have no idea what our doctor's appointments are like," which I don't. True. And thankfully I don't, because I don't want to know. It's very true. It does not make my upcoming afternoon any more delightful, I guess. No, so that, and then beforehand, we always come in here and we prep and we talk and we do all this stuff. And we oftentimes, you and I have very good discussions. Today, it was me was me. You were playing the part of a brick wall, and it was like I was talking to a brick wall. And are we live? I thought we were recording this.
No, we're live. We're always live.
Oh, I thought we were recording it and pumping it at noon.
We're early. We're good to go. People are tuning in. They're here.
No, they're not, though.
Yes, they are.
They're not.
The people are watching.
I just gave that heartfelt monologue to you, and you've proven all morning you don't listen to a thing I say.
By the way, by heartfelt, you called me a brick wall, and you're calling it a heartfelt monologue.
Well, I mixed in some accurate and colorful description.
I asked you, I said, what do you want me to call this topic? And you said, Mark, I forget what you said, Mark thinks about things. So here's what I decided to call it. While the climate continues to alter human lives, the Taliban begins their rule in Afghanistan, and data shows COVID vaccines diminish over time, Mark wants to talk about the GOP website.
Well, all those other things are just, I don't want to say
else is going on in the world.
But what can we do? What can we talk about?
No, that's fine. So while everything else is going on in the world, please tell us what is wrong with the GOP website.
I just found it interesting and fascinating, and all those where there are people who it's obviously their job to run the GOP website. Yes. It's not a task on their to-do list. This is their job.
Right.
And they've been touted, as Biden talked about, but Trump made the declaration that we were going to be out of, and he made an agreement.
He made the deal with the Taliban. And there was a plan in place.
Correct.
Well, whether or not there was, I'm not here to dispute yes or no. But he struck the deal with the Taliban and set the date of when to.
Correct, and I think it was May 1st. Yeah. So whatever, Biden was late anyway. He didn't. But be that as it may, so this was on the GOP website of this great agreement that Trump made, and no one debates that, I don't think, because for years and years, people have been saying, like, what are we still doing in Afghanistan?
Sure.
So when he wanted to get out, when Trump wanted to get out, and I think lots of presidents wanted to get out and didn't know how to do it, and Trump finally said, we're getting out.
Sure.
And he was applauded, and rightfully so. And then this comes down, and we do pull out. It's a disaster. And it's certainly a different administration. I'm not,
Sure.
none of that. But this self-praise on the GOP website of Trump, this Trump initiative that we're going to get out, all of a sudden it disappears from the website.
Okay.
And my whole question is, isn't it embarrassing that after it was up for so long, like, look what he did, look what he did, look what he did, look what he did, and now it went badly, and now it's one thing to stand up, as he's doing, as the GOP is doing, and as they should and as they always would, and say, we would have handled it differently. But it's another thing to say, whoop, let's pretend that we didn't talk about this, and we didn't tout this, and we didn't praise this.
But I don't think they're doing that. I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to control the message. Now, you and I can debate, like, morality, but, like, you keep saying it's embarrassing. And what I would say is, like, they did their job. Like, their job is to control the website, and their job is to try to give a GOP a good face, like a good online face.
And my question is, did they do that?
I believe they did. Because what is the other alternative? And again, remember, if you're the GOP, you're not trying to push that you were successful getting out of Afghanistan because your administration didn't get to actually handle, like, they struck the deal. But at the end of the day, like, at this point, you're pushing, like, we made this deal, we made this deal, we made this deal. The deal's kind of over. So at this point, like, take it down. We're not going to get any benefit from having it up. So my argument to you would not even be like, I'm not even left.
Well, that's
right.
not why they took it down.
Yes, it is.
That's like saying that Abe Lincoln shouldn't, now he's dead, but they wouldn't tout Abe Lincoln the Emancipation Proclamation because it's over.
It's fine. What I can't get over is how much it's bothering you. That's the part that blows my mind.
I guess that's the part that compares me, because it's politics.
Okay.
And because everything is spun. That it's like after we invaded, and when we got attacked at 9/11, Congress could not wait to declare war and sign or whatever. And like, let's go. And it was an overwhelming percent. It was like 88% or 92% or all these people. And then as time went on, when it didn't go really as well as we thought, and now Congress been like, well, if I would have known, I would have voted differently. We were lied to about weapons of mass destruction. And like, you can't criticize going when you said, let's go. We're
so far beyond what we're talking about.
That's what I equate this to. And I know it's different, but you can't, up until last week, this was up there that, like, look, and like, Trump had nothing to do with what just happened. And I don't understand, like, if they would have just left it up and said what they keep saying, Trump made this accord, which he did. We would have handled it differently, and we would have handled it better, which nobody ever know if they would or not, but that's what they would say, and that's what they're supposed to say. But to take it down is almost like, if we take it down, maybe people won't notice. And I just don't. In the world of the world,
I feel like you're the one who noticed.
No, the Washington Post noticed, because the guy was like, "Where the hell did that go?" And that's why it's a national story. If they hadn't taken it down, I wouldn't even know it was there. But now there's lots of other people like me who know it was there only because they removed it. And I don't understand. I wish I was in the room when they were like, "This is a good idea. This will make us look better."
So the question that I asked you at the beginning is, like, if you're them, what are you going to do?
I leave it up and I say, we still, of all the presidents, Bush didn't do it, Obama didn't do it, Trump did it. Trump came up with the treaty, and if I'm the GOP, I say all you had to do was elect him again, and he would have had a better plan. Now, whether he would or not, whatever.
They're still saying that.
They are saying that, but they're also taking it down and like, well, we didn't.
Okay, but it's a website. Like, it's like people retract stuff constantly. Like, the idea that the message has shifted because of, like, a message on the website, I just disagree with. They're still going to push that message. So when you say like, is it embarrassing?
Then why take it down?
Exactly. Who cares? Like that's the point I'm making to you.
No,
like
that's not
what.
If they would have taken it down in March when nothing was happening, well, it wouldn't have been March because it was.
But again,
if they would have taken it down at a dull time, then who cares? They took it down right in the heat of it, and they're like, we don't want to associate ourselves with this at all.
Yes,
but they're not. But if they're saying we're not associated with it, then just keep saying you're not. This is the part that we played, and we think we played a good part.
Yes,
we didn't play this bad part, but we're going to take this down because we don't want to have any part.
They don't want any of the backlash. 100%.
Correct.
This is the point that I'm making. I really could care less what the GOP did with their website. Good, bad, ugly. Like, I do not care. But the point I'm making to you is like, if you and I were the two employees watching the GOP website, we would have had a serious conversation about like, what is the result if we leave this up? And what is the result if we take it down? And I can tell you right now, the result of taking it down has been significantly less than the result of keeping it up. So
that's your speculation. That's speculative.
So all I'm saying to you is like, did they do their job? Yes or no?
Well,
I would argue yes, because you already hinted at it.
You
already hinted at it. It's politics. And this is how the game is played. Whether you or I like it, this is how the game is played. So when they take it down, like you can call it an embarrassment, you can call it whatever it is, but somebody there did the math and they realized if we take this down, it does less damage than if we leave it up. That's what
but
it
I don't know
comes
how
down
they
to.
did them. And I agree with everything you just said.
This is what
I agree with everything you just said.
I feel like the way you described it, you're acting like they altered history. Like he had no part in it. And that's just not true. They didn't alter history.
They're trying to hide it.
They're not trying to hide history.
Then why did they take it down?
They changed because it's a GOP website, and the moment that they don't want to have to deal with the backlash or something, they took it down. That is the reality of anybody who has ever run a paper or a website or anything else. We're the only two idiots who, after they get backlash, comes on the next day and continues to talk about it.
I don't think that's true. But anyway, well, and I guess this is my last comparison, then we'll move on to
That's fine.
So it's to me like, when you're in a bar and you're watching a football game and it's 4th and 1 at the 1 and now crowds say, they're like, oh, you go for it, where you go for it, where you go for it. And then they run and get stuffed. And then all of a sudden people are like, we should have kicked a field goal. We should have kicked. And like, no. 45 seconds ago, you weren't saying this. So don't pretend that like, you were adamant that they should have kicked a field. If you were adamant they should have kicked a field goal, you should have been screaming before the 4th and 1 play.
Yes.
And people's revisionist history, and now they're like pretending by screaming it loud is pretending.
I cannot stress to you enough. No one is revising history.
They're trying to hide.
That's not the ledger. The GOP. This is the point I'm trying to make to you. The GOP website is not the ledger of history.
And it is not. I don't disagree.
And
with
anybody
that.
who thinks of it that way, I'm really worried.
But the people that run it, it's like when
as a registered Republican, anybody who is using the GOP website as a historical reference, like it is the ledger of society, I am very concerned.
Do you remember last year when Penn State came out with the website that said came out with the tweet that said,
yes.
Penn State had a player in the Super Bowl every year except 5, and it said real little at the bottom.
Yes.
Whoever put that out, that was their job.
Correct.
That was like their whole job.
Yes.
It wasn't like one of 12 things on their to-do list and they just checked it off. So did they do their job? Yes. Did they do it horribly? Yes.
No, I disagree.
And I think, no, you don't think the Penn State people who put that out did it horribly?
Oh, the Penn State people did, yes.
Yes.
But the people who are running the GOP website, this is a blip. This is like anybody, this is what I would say. Anybody who right now, their main concern is the GOP website and the messaging delivered on it, you have completely missed the broader scope or the bigger picture
I get that. And
of how politics works or what's happening in the world.
And nobody goes to the Penn State propaganda website to get their Super Bowl historical facts.
Exactly.
But it's still, somebody probably got fired for that and probably should have.
Okay, nobody's getting fired for this.
And I think they should. But that's where we disagree.
Why would they
Because
get
I think
fired for this?
I think it was embarrassing. I think
But it wasn't
What's
embarrassing.
Next? It wasn't to you.
Embarrassing.
I think it was embarrassing.
Are there any other websites you want to talk about? Anything that we should, any non-historical referred websites that we should worry about?
Yeah, let's talk about the guy who got naked on his first day of work. That's important.
We're about to. You want to, real quick, because we don't want to talk about COVID for too long. There is breaking news, though. It's coming from MSNBC, NBC, The Hill, Fox, CNBC. So this is
big one.
This is breaking news. Top U.S. health officials announced that the country has developed a plan to start offering COVID-19 booster shots to all Americans beginning the third week of September. A couple of just like little notes here. The Biden administration is recommending the boosters, and they're saying that the effort should begin on September 20th. They're saying that they will be widely distributed, and new data, the whole initiative, why this is happening, according to CNBC, new data shows that the vaccine protection wanes over time or diminishes. This is coming from top U.S. health officials announcing it. So I'm not really sure if we want to dive like too much into it. We've spent a lot of time on COVID. Let's do this. Are you surprised at all? Is there anything about this that surprises you?
No. To be totally honest, in a word, no. Right now I'm distracted by a fruit fly. And I am unfriending someone who just messaged me in the middle of that, says you're losing this argument. So that person is being unfriended as we speak. But no, I am not surprised. And I mean, the more I think about the fall, the more I just don't know what's going to happen, and the more scared I am. And I know the whole booster, the whole annual flu shot, which as you and I've discussed, it's more like that dude said, like that medical, it's going to become.
Can I touch on that for a second?
And we'll just hold, like, how many people now, if they would have come out, and this is the way the world is, and like, listen, this is a virus like the flu, you might have to get an annual flu shot as we figure out how this mutates.
Sure.
It would be different than now. I think people like, you're vaccinated, because vaccines, and now there's obviously people who don't want to get vaccinated. There's a percentage. And how many of that percentage that got vaccinated are like, well, I'm not doing it again.
Yeah.
So of the vaccinated, how many of them are going to get a booster? It's going to be less. And how many of them continue to get a booster year after year? It's going to be less and less. So
yeah.
So that's what's unsettling.
I really think, and this is 100% opinion before I move on to the next one. I really think that the administration should consider changing the message from like vaccine and booster. They should really start trying to figure out how to message this as, I don't want to say like an annual shot, because who knows where this heads. Right. Like maybe, if we're thinking optimistically.
It could be weekly.
Yeah, if we're thinking pessimistically. If we're thinking optimistically, maybe it's not an annual thing, like maybe over time, who knows? But I really think the messaging, two things need to happen. It is okay to say we don't know. I can't express that enough. Like, I know that's a difficult thing, but there are
how about in every aspect of life?
It's like, I cannot express enough. Like, people need to be willing to say, like, we're not sure, I don't know. The new norm right now is like everything's fact checked, but like there's no, like, a lot of the fact check are just based off of like things that we don't necessarily know yet. Like, correct. We're going off of what was told to us. So the layers and layers and layers of this just keep getting deeper and deeper to try to figure out. It is okay to say, I don't know. I think that's the first part of the messaging. The second part of the messaging is none of this is going to be one and done. None of it. So if you're pro-vaccine, if you're pro-flu shot, if you're doing what's being asked of you for your own health and safety, the messaging needs to shift a little bit from like, this is not going to be one and done. This is going to be something that like we are going to have to keep updating and going. Vaccine and booster, like you said, it gives the idea that like the vaccine was one and done. And a booster gives the idea of like, well, we're just going to add this and we're done. And I just think we're to the point now where like to give the messaging as if we're done is not, it just doesn't feel genuine. Well, it doesn't feel like it's.
Yes. I think the point that you made is that we don't know. And the aspect of we're gonna do the best we can, and we're gonna kind of figure it out as we go. And there's lots of aspects in life. And my ex used to say I make everything into a sports analogy. But there's times where you just can't cover everyone, especially like football comes in. Like, we can't cover him and we can't cover him at the same time. Right. So we're gonna take the biggest threat and then we're gonna adjust. and we're going to do the best we can.
Yeah.
And if they do this while we're doing this, we're outmatched.
Sure.
And then there's games that you lose because you were really outmatched, or somebody figured out a flaw in your scheme, and then you go back and re-scheme it, and then you get better at it. And at the end of the season, very few teams are undefeated.
Right.
Even the Loyal Sock Lancer State Championship team wasn't undefeated.
Yeah.
But you learn from it, and you can still have great amounts of success even when there's a blip along the way.
Right.
In every aspect of life.
Like when you take something down off of a website, and maybe it wasn't the greatest, but you learn from it.
You know, for someone who didn't want to talk about it, you're kind of like this is one of your female traits. You keep bringing it back up. I didn't say
that. You said that. I'm going to get thrown under the bus with you on that one. Okay, let's do. You want to do the Penn Live story because this is out of this world. All right, so Penn Live broke a story this morning that I don't even know how to describe it. So, case of man who got high and naked on his first day at work to be heard by PA Supreme Court. I have never been high at work. I have never been naked at work. Have you ever been high or naked at work?
No, I've never been high.
Never been high. There you go. So here's the main. This is the main gist of the story, and this is the first question the story asks: does kissing someone on the neck without their consent constitute a crime of indecent assault? So we're going to get to that question.
We're going to get to that. That's kind of the boring part of the story. Yeah, dude who is so nervous on his first day of work, he shows up, goes into the bathroom, and is like, I'm going to get whacked out of my head right now.
Yes. So the Harrisburg resident, his last name is Gamby, he injected himself with bath salts and fentanyl in a restroom on March 8th, 2019, during his first shift as a clerk at the Ocano Lodge in Swatara Township. So that was how he started.
That's how he started
his first shift. This wasn't like,
Mom, I got to get to work early, so I'm ready. And where are the bath salts? I need to get to work.
This wasn't like 2 weeks, and he's like, this is not going well. Yeah. I'm going to try
this first thing.
This was first day. He stumbled out of the bathroom. Gamby grabbed a female coworker from behind and kissed her neck. Then he took off his shirt and repeatedly tried to get the woman to kiss him as she yelled for him to get away from her. The woman fled to her car. When the cops arrived, Gamby was naked. The incident was captured on security cameras. He was sentenced to 11 and a half to 23 months in prison after he was convicted by a Dauphin County jury for indecent assault, indecent exposure, and possession of drug paraphernalia. Now, the two things no one's really disputing. So the possession of drug paraphernalia and the indecent exposure. The one that is going to the state Supreme Court and that is being appealed is the indecent assault. So real quick, and then you can dive into this. So in one sentence order accepting Gamby's case, the Supreme Court said it will focus on, and this is in quotes, the kissing and touching of the victim's neck without the victim's consent constituted indecent contact with an intimate part of the victim's body, sufficient to sustain conviction for indecent assault. And that is what the state Supreme Court will be looking at.
And the word that jumps out there is intimate.
It's
the intimate part of the neck. And
yes.
That is where I ask you, where is the intimate part of the neck?
Okay, so here, which is a great question because I immediately responded by saying, where is the unintimate part of the neck? This is the part of it. The